Okay, so here we are continuing on from the last video. And again, I would take some notes of this so that way you make sure you know what you are doing for your essay. Again, it's each piece of what you do is worth points and the final project as well. So for your attention getter, if you look at what's in red here and think, would this bring me into wanting to read this essay? This is an essay about people not getting sleep and it affecting them. It affects me a lot. I never get enough sleep and I'm always tired, so I picked this as something to write about. So you're getting sleepy, very, very sleepy. The computer screen blurs. Your tin bobs southward. The office clock reads 3 p.m. It's time for a nap. Well, take it. Yeah, go ahead. Half the world takes a siesta. Einstein, in fact, napped, and so did Napoleon. Okay, so your attention getter needs to be something snappy like that. An anecdote, something that brings us in to what you're writing, or a quote that's awesome. So again, that would be something good. And then after that, you'll have your bridge and then your thesis. Okay, so purple is a bridge, which will lead you into your essay. We'll talk about that. A bridge is something that is a sentence or so that goes between your attention getter and your claim or thesis. But we'll go back to that. Okay. All right. So a couple things you can do for attention getters. That's our focus for this video. You can open with an unusual detail, like something weird, like Manitoba, because of its cold climate. Cold climate is not thought of as a great place for a reptile. So maybe look up an unusual detail about isolation or conformity if those are your topics. Open with a strong statement. Something maybe about teen depression or something like that. That would be shocking. Open with the quotation. Quotations are awesome. Google around. Those you can Google. Those you can Google and find. Find a quotation and include that. But then don't just put the quote and move right into your bridge. You have to have a sentence or so after your quote, kind of leading us from that into what your essay is going to be about. So you should have a sentence in your own words from there. You can open with an anecdote, which means a kind of silly, funny story. I always like to do that, but I'm also a professional writer in a sense. An anecdote is like a little story about yourself. So if you're talking about teen bullying or something, you could talk about an experience you had. You could start with a statistic or fact, like 97% of students have reported being bullied, and that's what your essay is about. Never open with a question. There should never be a question mark. Have you ever wondered about depression? Well, no, I haven't. Have you ever wondered about Michael Jordan? Got a lot of those before with the 8th grade essays I graded. No, I know a lot about him, not wondering about him. So don't ask questions. You can also use hyperbole. Start with a crazy exaggerated statement, but then walk us away from that. Okay, so I will have this on Canvas for you to go through. I'm not going to go through all of these with you, but I'll give you a couple examples. So like every home should have 3 things: a door, a bed, and a dog. And I'm like, what? What's that quote about? I want to read that. Like that's actually kind of like random. Let me find out more about that topic. Or an anecdote. Last Valentine's Day, I bought my husband a box of chocolates from Fannie Mae. That night he was taking me out to dinner and I hadn't realized that I left the candies on the dining room table unopened, still in shrink wrap. What? Where's the story going to go? So, and I'm not going to read all of that to you, but when I returned for a night out, I walked in the house and it smelled like a chocolate factory. Our dog, oh no, and the dog ate the chocolates. So, again, like makes me want to read it. Fact or statistic, almost 80% of pet owners spend up to 20% of their disposable income on their pets. I have a cat, and I know cat food's expensive if you buy like the gourmet stuff. So I can kind of relate, and I'm like, what? People are spending so much money on their dogs. You can ask a rhetorical question. If you want to get a 0 on your attention getter, don't do that. Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. Now, as far as your thesis goes, so I'm going to move on to the thesis for a second. Your essay needs to have a thesis that has the 3 points you're going to include in your body paragraphs, right? So you should mention your topic in your thesis and the 3 points you're going to make in your body paragraph. So people would do a better job if they slept sometime at work. What? What are you going to prove? Like, okay, that's really boring. But how about this? By all accounts, people in America would be more productive, increasingly healthier, and happier if they were allowed to take a nap in the middle of the day. So the argument here, if you were writing an essay about this, is that we should get sleep during the day, during work. I agree. I need it. And what would your body paragraphs be about? You could be more productive, you could be healthier, and you could be happier. And I could write about that. So there's your 3 points. You need to put those 3 points in your thesis. Remember, again, your thesis must be universal. It must be something you can prove using enough text evidence from speak. And it can't be just one word. It has to be a complete idea. So alienation, not a theme. The character Melinda from the novel Speak displays the theme of alienation through her emotional isolation, physical isolation, and her absolute resistance to accept others. Not a theme. It's a bridge. You mentioned the name of the character. You mentioned the name, you can't, of the book. You can't be that specific in the theme. A theme has to be universal. So how about this? When someone's alienated, they can be affected emotionally, physically, and this may cause them to push others away. That works. Don't mention Speak. Don't mention Melinda. And then your bridge would be the character Melinda from the novel Speak displays the theme of alienation through her shutting out others emotionally, locking herself in a closet, and her judgment and absolute resistance to accept others. Perfect. All right, so we're started. Think about your thesis. I'm going to come back to this next video. Think about your attention getter and your thesis, attention getter and thesis, and focus on that. But make sure you got enough quotes to write your essay.